Listen closely.
And welcome back to CTF Walkthroughs. I'm your host, Callie Surfer, and today we have a brand new CTF walkthrough. The title is Hack Smarter Security. This is on TryHackMe, and it's rated medium for difficulty. In this box, designed by Tyler Ramsby, a fellow OffSec practitioner, pen tester, and cybersecurity content creator, I've linked his YouTube up here. He designed this box with the premise that we need to hack the hackers before they hit their next target. So we need to get our user flag as usual, and then go in and escalate our privileges up to the administrator so that we can get onto their desktop and find the text file that has their future targets recorded there. There are many interesting parts of this CTF. We're going to be doing an arbitrary file read exploit that makes use of a vulnerability discovered by Rhino Security. That's the company that Tyler works for, so it's a good hint that we're going in the right direction. And then we'll find our way to the administrator user via some persistence so that we don't get kicked off the shell. And I won't say any more about the privilege escalation vector because I want to keep that a surprise. If you can't handle surprises, just skip to that point in the chapters in this video and you can cut right to the chase. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so we are already jumping into our Nmap results, and I did this scan previously and saved it to an output file. We find FTP, SSH, HTTP on 40. What else do we have? We'll try to enumerate our FTP first, since it's possible there could be anonymous login enabled. Oh, and there's a port 1311 there. TCP open SSL RXMon question mark. That sounds different. So we're going to explore that further. And anonymous. And it said Windows NT. That's interesting. It's an old version of Windows, maybe has some vulnerabilities. But we'll just get both of these files with the mget star command, but will it work? Okay, the first one worked. The second one did not. Let's try just doing get and that file name for the second one. stolenpassport.png, and it failed again. Let's check out the text file. Credit cards we pwned. And we've got Visa, lots of Visa cards, expiration. Okay, nothing too interesting there. All right. Let's see if we can open that PNG file. Could not load. So I guess we didn't download it correctly. That's okay. Now we're going to try the port 1311, and it says requires TLS, so we put the S on the HTTPS. We'll OK this to go forward, accept the risk. And what do we have? It looks like a login portal. Awesome. This is what we like to see as pen testers, because now we have a portal, and if we can gain valid credentials, we'll be able to get into this portal and maybe pull a few levers that can help us to get onto the command line. So let's just search for Dell EMC Open Manage and see if there are any known vulnerabilities out there that we can just fire off and run. And there is one here from Rhino Security Labs. That is Tyler's company. He works for them as a pen tester, so I'm guessing this is the right track here. Let's see if we can download the proof of concept. There are some CVE numbers here. It was an old vulnerability that they updated. Okay, just read over it a little bit. Looks like we can read file vulnerability, or we can read files arbitrarily. So if a set of credentials happen to be in the files in plain text or encrypted, we might be able to download that string and use it or crack it. Here's the usage example. Let's go over to the GitHub and let's download this arbitrary file read vulnerability written in Python. We'll grab that as raw text, copy and paste into a Vim. Let's go over to ChatGPT. And we'll just ask it, where are credentials stored on a Windows NT server? LSA, credential manager, Active Directory, cached credentials, group policy. We're looking for a direct file. So I'll say, what file are credentials stored on a Windows NT server? And it tells me the SAM file, which is true, but we're looking for something a little easier to access with just file reading. What file can credentials be found on a web server? Source code, yeah, sometimes. Backup files, session files, cookies, content management systems, a lot of places. Let's look and see if we got a host name or a domain name. So we'll do a vuln scan, and we'll use the two scripts, the vuln and the vulners, to see if we can automate a bit of enumeration, see if there's anything else on this server that we can exploit. Right, we need the TAC-P 1311, and we'll do a script scan and TAC-S uppercase N, and then we'll save our output. Let's do a T4 for speed, output normal, and we'll call it nmap.vulnscan.txt. Okay. We'll fire that off and just let it roll. And we'll put it in our folder hacksmartersec walkthrough. Okay, and we do need to add a sudo to that command. And we'll let that go in the background. It'll probably take a while. Now back to the problem at hand here. Where could this file be? web.config, and whoa, there we go. So we have credentials now, Tyler, and the password there, crazy string with uppercase and lowercase and some leet speak, etc. All right, we'll just test with these credentials. We'll test the RDP protocol now, see if we can get in to a remote desktop using Remina. So we'll put in our server. All right, we'll just test with these credentials. We'll test the RDP protocol now, see if we can get in to a remote desktop using Remina. So we'll put in our server. We'll just use the IP here. We got the certificate, which is good, but we're erroring out, so we must not have RDP enabled for this user. Let's try the web portal. Will be Tyler and the IP. So we used our host name there. Will it verify us or not? And it does not. We failed. So that leaves us with SSH. Let's see if we can access the server via SSH, so we can at least get some command line access and our foothold to this machine. Let's grab that target IP again. Let's go ahead and, oh, we're in. So we are now in as Tyler. We have our initial foothold. Let's continue on. We grabbed our user flag here. And there's our first flag. And we got our user.text. Sweet. And now we need to do our privesc so we can get onto the desktop of the administrator user. We'll exit out of that exploit. And let's go into our transfers and we'll see if we can move over our Winpeas, since we're running a Windows machine on our server. And we'll see if anything like Windows Defender is running on this machine that might block our Winpeas automated enumeration. So with the wget command, we'll put in our attack box's IP. Our Python server is running on port 8000, so we can pull over that Winpeas file. (10.10.55.160) port 8000. That's right, we're 10.6.40.236 on port 8000, Winpeas, and that should do it. Okay, so it is correctly copying the file. And now we have access. And is it in there? It's not, so let's put it in a different folder, maybe the temp folder. Windows temp. Right, winpeas.exe. executable. And it's writing the file. Now let's switch over to the Windows temp directory. We attempt to run Winpeas now, but we are blocked, right? Command failed, contains a virus, so Windows Defender is turned on. So we have to do our enumeration manually. Let's look first at our processes running on this box, and we'll go full screen and run that ps command again so we can see the names of these processes. And the spoofer scheduler sticks out as an unusual one. Let's look a little bit further into this process. So from our notes over here, let's grab this one here, sc.execqc, and then the name of the process. And we find out here that, yep, we have an unquoted service path. So we could drop a file like program.exe into a program directory, but probably we won't have write permissions. So we need to check two things. We have to check, can we start and stop this service, and can we write or modify this file? All right, so we're going to use Tyler's suggestion and grab the nym shell. This nym shell is able to evade the Windows Defender antivirus protection on this version of Windows. So we can grab it, we'll stick in our IP and listener port, and then we'll compile it into a file that has the same name as that spoofer scheduler.exe. Okay, so a few steps here. First, let's grab the nym shell. Thanks to Sneer for creating this, or for saving it onto their GitHub repo. Let's use Vim now, and we'll go in and create this nym shell. So we'll go into our walkthrough folder, and we'll do a vim rev.nym. Okay, we'll paste in our nym shell there, and let's just update the IP and L port. There it is. That looks good, I think. We're going to run it on port 8080, and now we want to compile our nym shell into an executable. So we can use from our notes the following command. This one. Yep. So we're using the mingw encoding, not encryption, but encoding. And we'll make this work here. So we'll retitle it rev.nym, and it outputs here a spoofer schedule.exe. Perfect. We're going to move that over to our transfers folder. And we still have our Python server running, so we can use wget again. And we'll just change the file name there to spoofer scheduler. And we want to place it into the correct folder. Program files, spoofer scheduler. So let's paste that in. And because we have an unquoted service path, we need to actually put quotes around it for it to copy directly to the correct place. Otherwise, it will get confused and send us an error because there's no program directory on our target. And there's a space between program and files, if that makes sense. Okay, so nothing's hitting on the FTP server there. No requests coming through. No errors. It's just hanging. Okay, we're going to cut here. Check, check. So what I realized is that the service was already running, the spoofer scheduler, so it wasn't allowing me to edit the file spooferscheduler.exe. So first what we have to do is actually stop the process, then modify it, and then start the process again to kick us the root rev shell. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's stop our spoofer scheduler with the sc.exe stop spoofer scheduler command, and we'll hit enter on that. Notice there's no .exe there. It's just the command name. Now we should be able to wget our nym payload that's now compiled as an executable file. So let's bring it over. And here you see that I've also put quotation marks around the full directory listing because of those spaces in there. We have to do that. And I'll just make sure the IPs are correct. The port is correct. We retitled the file spooferscheduler1.exe, so we'll make sure to update that as well. And let's bring it over. And we'll make sure to title it spoofer-scheduler.exe. And we can watch let's go into our transfers folder and spin up a new Python server. We'll keep it on port 8000. Tac m http.server, enter. 8000 is the default for port. We'll run that, drag over our spoofer scheduler, and it should be in the right place. So all we have to do now is sc.exec start spoofer scheduler. The specified service does not exist as an installed service. Oh, I put the .exe, but I need to make sure not to put that on because the name of the service does not have .exe. Let's try again. And boom, we got it. We have a NT Authority system shell on our target machine, and we should now be able to go into the administrators folder and view the file that shows the future targets. Let's check it out. Oh yeah, we can add some persistence just in case we get kicked off. This was a really good thing to do so that we can SSH back in whenever we need to. And now we have our own user, administrator hacker. All right, so that's kind of a backup. Well, we can test it. Let's see if we can get in now as administrator hacker. Because sometimes Windows will kick you off of a reverse shell. If you've just caught it, it's not necessarily going to be stable. So it's a good idea to add some persistence in, especially if we're not worried about being noisy on the network. Let's assume we're doing a kind of a pen test and everything's good. So it doesn't matter if we're noticed. We don't need to worry about them. We're in as administrator hacker now. we should have the same privs as the NT authority because we created that account and we added it to the administrators group. Okay, so we're in our desktop, but we need to go back to the administrator's desktop. And let's go in and check it out. What file do we have sitting there? We have a directory, hacking targets. Let's type that out. CyberLens, Work Smarter, and Steel Mountain. Sweet. So we got our future targets. This is our root flag. Let's go and drop it in and grab our street credentials or street cred. All right, so over on our TryHackMe window, let's go down and paste that in. Yes, congratulations. Let the confetti rain down. We just pwned this box by grabbing those targets from the administrator's desktop and proving that we have completely compromised our target. So that brings us to the end of the walkthrough. And for more full-length CTF walkthroughs and short videos on hot topics in ethical hacking and pen testing, be sure to hit subscribe and like the video and keep an eye on my channel. There's lots of more great content coming out soon. Catch you later.